Of course, Ravens-Texans coming up on Sunday here in Baltimore, and on the call on CBS, noted good guy, man who doesn't care for vegetables, and our great friend, Mr. Ian Eagle, back with us now here on the program. Ian, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up, brother. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Hey, Glenn. I feel like we've spoken so many times through the years under so many different circumstances.
Yeah.
I don't know
With half
if
the
we've
roster on IR.
had
Yeah.
this kind of back and forth that I can remember throughout the history of our relationship. And it just shows you that the Ravens have been incredibly fortunate and have sustained such a high level of competition. This is how it feels for most of the league. There are fan bases that only feel this way.
Yeah.
So the fact that this has been a bit of an outlier for the Ravens, for their fans, and for their team in general shows you the stability and consistency. But it is reality, and it comes with the territory.
You're saying Kyle Hamilton was right. We are spoiled here in Baltimore. That's what you're saying.
I guess that was a very circuitous way of saying the same thing.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. Ian, it is a weird spot, obviously. There's the unknown of where Lamar Jackson is, and we're leaning towards there's not going to be Lamar Jackson on Sunday, but there is also, like, that's juxtaposed against, but yet these games are really important for any hope that the Ravens have of getting to the place where we thought they were going to be before the season began. And so I think in a lot of worlds, like, hey, if the Ravens had won 3 of their first 4 games, you'd say, okay, no big deal. Like, this is a weird spot to be in where you're potentially playing critical games that could determine the fate of your season. I know it's still early, and I don't want to be too hyperbolic about it, but that's where they are at 1-3, and you're going to have to do it with at least one, if not like 1.5 hands tied behind your back.
Yeah, and I think with everything that is discussed prior to a season, part of the love of the NFL is the banter and speculating, wins, losses, looking over the schedule, determining what could affect seeding. And that's really the area that the Ravens were in. Most of us thought, all right, first 4 weeks, that's going to give you a sense of where the team fits in for seeding. Nothing beyond that. We never even thought, like, look, they won't be a playoff team. Of course they're going to be a playoff team. It's just a matter of where they'll fit in. And now here we are in week 5, and you have to deal with the cold, hard facts that, these games will probably determine whether or not they actually get to participate in the postseason. And it just shows you how tenuous all of this is. And the fact of the matter, you can look at the glass half full, because if you get to December and get your pieces back, or at least the majority of them, you can play with anybody, and you could go on a run, and you could go to the Super Bowl. All of that is very possible, but you got to be in it to win it. And this is a critical part of the schedule where if you start banking losses, you can't come back. And the stats basically show that. The Rams last year went 1-4. They made the playoffs, and they were on the brink of pulling up an upset in the divisional round against the eventual champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. So all is not lost.
Right.
It's just, as we know, with Baltimore, it's not just about this week's game. It's about the big picture, and it's so difficult to survive massive injuries in this league.
Ian Eagle with us before he calls Ravens-Texans Sunday. Ian, I feel like that's like the subtext is, does it come apart at the seams, right? Like the record plus all of the injuries, particularly Lamar Jackson's situation. And I get it. Like, John Harbaugh has been doing this for a very long time. There have been times where John Harbaugh has been doubted and counted out, and sure enough, the Ravens have figured things out. And I guess that's the best thing they have going for them right now. But to what you said at the beginning of this is almost unprecedented, even for as long as John Harbaugh has been around, to both via record and reality of the injury picture. I don't know when the last time the Ravens were in, 2015, maybe something like that, were in this
Yeah.
type of hole.
Yeah, I think the other part, too, that strikes me, this year was really the first time that I can remember since Lamar Jackson has become the starting quarterback that they did not necessarily follow the same philosophy, which is find someone to back up Lamar that has some similar traits.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that the philosophy on offense remains the same, and then you do a plug-in, and things will change and adjust because he's one of one. Lamar is not to be duplicated or simulated. But at least then you can stay within the same range of what you do and how you do it and how you practice. And it's not the case. Cooper Rush, who had some success in Dallas and by all accounts is highly respected for his football IQ, for his leadership abilities, for his clear ability to process in the moment. All of those are nice checks for a backup quarterback.
Yep.
But it doesn't necessarily fit the mold that they had been accustomed to, or at least tried to follow the last several years. So that also makes it feel a little bit different because the mystery of, okay, what are we looking at here? What's this going to look like? Because it's certainly not going to look anything like the offense that they run with Lamar Jackson. The other concerns, Glenn, and I know you've been through this with a fine-tooth comb, so I'm preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
Even when healthy through 4 weeks, defensively they just have not been very good.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's probably more troubling. I never like to. I do it because I think we're at a point where you have to, but I never like to write down the rankings on my notes through the first 4 weeks because I'll probably use them at some point over the course of the broadcast. And I know it's still a sample, but when you're at the bottom of the rankings, it's hard to avoid it. The numbers speak for themselves, what they're allowing from a yardage point of view, from a scoring point of view. They have not been able to play Baltimore Ravens football defensively like we've grown accustomed to. They're getting gashed against the run. The passing numbers against them are through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
These are no longer anomalies after 4 weeks. Now they played Super Bowl contenders. So, yes, you have to factor that in. But it's troubling. It's troubling for a team that has obviously been very proud of what they've brought from a consistency point of view on that side of the ball.
Yeah, but other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
That's a legitimate question.
I would think that the best way to go about handling both the likelihood of a backup quarterback, even someone who has the experience that Cooper Rush has, and both a depleted and, to your point, accurately, very disappointing defense would be, hey, remember you have Derrick Henry. And It's very strange that the Ravens are 32nd in rush attempts on first and second down this season, as our friend Mike Sando uses the Cook Index. It is bizarre that that's where they are with Derrick Henry, but I would like to think, particularly given sort of how public John Harbaugh was this week in kind of his criticism of the offensive play calling, that the best anecdote to all of these issues is this is the week where you are hell-bent about getting the ball to Derrick Henry 20, 25, 30. I feel like Michael Cohen when he was testifying in front of Congress, 100 times more, 100. Yeah, like that. It feels like this is the moment where you remember, right, Derrick Henry is on our side.
Yeah, and the numbers are very drastic. What's happened the last couple of weeks with Derrick Henry is very un-Derrick Henry-like. This is not something that's happened over the course of his career. The fumbles were obviously a huge issue,
No
and
doubt.
it just seemed so uncharacteristic. And the seams just burst that game. And for someone that has been so good for so long, will be going to the Hall of Fame, it was just one of those games where you thought, all right, throw it out the window. But Derrick Henry always bounces back. And then to to see what the numbers looked like last week. He just didn't participate in a way that he normally does, and obviously that's not his decision. So, yeah, you would think no matter what, no matter who's in there, Derrick Henry's going to play a much larger role in this offense. The problem on paper is, I think the perception is, all right, yeah, it's the Houston Texans. They're struggling. Look, they're 1-3 also. They've lost their games by a combined 13 points. They played a bunch of tight games. Their offense has not gotten going. They finally got a little something cooking in the second half last week in the shutout win over Tennessee. And there's a desperation with them.
Yep.
People tend to forget they went to the divisional round themselves last year. They lost to Kansas City. They also came into the season with high hopes, with the expectation that they would win their division. They would go to the playoffs again. D'Amico Ryans has built a really good program there. And I think he's got a good feel for his players and what makes them tick. So while you might look at the matchup and say, all right, well, this is a game Baltimore wins, it's got to win, they impose their will, considering everything that's going on with the roster and who's going to be available on Sunday, that this is no gimme, as we know in this league. And Houston is looking at it as an opportunity for them to right their season and to get everything going in the right direction, because they believed that come January they would be a part of the postseason.
And it's kind of similar. A week ago, a lot of people leading up to the Chiefs game around town were like, well, these aren't the same Chiefs. And I just sort of rolled my eyes every time they said that. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
You go right ahead and believe that. You go right ahead and think that's the case. And I'm not trying to compare the Texans to the Chiefs. They're not similar, but I absolutely have been rolling my eyes at the idea that, like, the schedule eased up for the Ravens or something like that. I still think the Texans are very much a threat. I get it. The Colts have gotten off to a great start. The Jaguars have gotten off to a great start. But I think any suggestion that the Texans are done or buried, and I can't get on board with that whatsoever.
Yeah, and the one thing that has really stood out for Houston, they have generated a consistent pass rush. The two edge rushers are major factors. And again, I'll tell you that through 4 weeks, I don't tend to take the numbers all that seriously, other than a guide. But they're number one in scoring defense by a lot. It's not a case of they're number one and there are three teams hover. No. They're number one by a lot.
Yeah.
And I think they're gaining confidence in that area, and they might see that as their identity when it's all said and done. So while everyone thought, hey, offensively, when you have C.J. Stroud and you got a bunch of playmakers and Nico Collins is one of the best wide receivers in the game, they obviously thought that they were going to have Joe Mixon as a part of this backfield, and it doesn't look like he's going to be a part of it at all, that he's going to be in this thing at all. So Nick Chubb in the next chapter of his career, and Woody Marks, rookie out of USC. That's been the combination for them thus far.
And Woody Marks obviously looked quite good a week ago, and probably licking his chops looking at the defensive front right now that the Baltimore Ravens are slated to line up. All right, Ian, I bring this up at risk of asking to see who the man is behind the curtain. But there have been great games so far this NFL season. There have been, including that Ravens-Bills game, there have been great moments. There have been great stories like Daniel Jones. But to me, the single greatest thing that has happened so far in this NFL season occurred in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And it sounded like this.
Flag down. He was looking for Boutte.
Pass interference, defense, number 26.
He grabbed Boutte.
Now. I know you can't give away all of the secrets, Ian. I know you can't give them all away. But I'm very torn between whether or not I want that to have been premeditated or I want that to have been in the moment. I do want to know because, as the lower level play-by-play man that I am myself, I love hearing trade secrets. But had you prepared for, I hope I get a chance to say he grabbed Boutte at some point during the course of this game?
No, I had not prepared that at all. It struck me as the official was making the call and we were showing the replay that I had to say it.
Yes, of course you had to say it.
It wasn't even a moment of, oh, should I?
No.
Shouldn't I?
No.
It pops into my head. And if you can hear on my delivery, I say it in a rather wry way.
Yes.
Not in the way that you would normally say, like, he grabbed Boutte.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that was not something I toiled over for the 6 days leading up to the game. Can I work
is there gonna be a moment?
He grabs Boutte? No. That's just one of those moments in real time where you trust your Boutte instincts.
And thank you, by the way. And I need to be better at trusting my own Boutte instincts. I would ask, how do you avoid not popping breaking, right? You know what I mean? Like is this years of improv classes? Is this we see this all the time, like on Saturday Night Live, where you just people can't help but break in that moment. What is your secret for not breaking when you know you're delivering gold?
Yeah, I've always had a deadpan delivery. My parents were in entertainment. My father was a stand-up comedian, actor, trumpet player. My mother was a singer and an actress. I was obviously around them quite a bit in my life. And I had some form of mental training in how to deliver a line without giving away that you're delivering a line. That's all I can say on it.
Sir, it is brilliant. I wish I had the same amount of skill to be able to do it without popping, because I would be breaking in that moment. I would sound like
it's
Matt
funny
Ryan.
then.
Or sorry, J.J. Watt.
Last week we had the Falcons and
the mustard, yeah, 100. I caught it.
Yeah, well, we had the mustard.
Yeah,
we had the mustard, but we had a graphic of what is a term for a baby falcon. There are young defensive players on Atlanta's team. So we built a graphic, and our broadcast associate that's in charge of graphics, Charlie Mazzano, great guy, comes to the table, and he's done a little research.
Yeah.
And the name is EYEASSES.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I was like, dude, you want me to say I-asses?
Yeah, the
on
old
the air
I-asses, right.
1 week after the Boutte thing? He's like, well, I'm not telling you have to say it. I'm just telling you what a baby falcon is. So we determined, I do a little more research, and it's not pronounced that. It's pronounced ISs or IASs.
IASs.
But we go with it. And, some more fun ensued. I said to JJ, why don't you take this one? So, yeah, we've been having a blast. JJ is a really good dude, excellent sense of humor. He is really into this. He loves the preparation part. He's enjoying the TV side of it. He's incredibly comfortable, natural, at ease. And then you have the added bonus of someone who is so highly accomplished, but is self-deprecating. So perfect. You get the confidence combined with the humility, and it allows us to definitely go some places on the air in a very natural, authentic way, not something that we discuss ahead of time, but it's just become our normal banter.
And then, of course, you add in the eye candy of our friend Evan Washburn on the sideline.
Well, that's it. I mean, that goes without saying. Yeah.
The movie star good looks.
You work in heaven.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Ian Eagle, you are the best, my friend. Can't wait to see you on Sunday here in Baltimore. Thank you for spending the time with us, as always. And let's hope that there's about 17 more of these with a less depleted Ravens roster coming up a little bit later on this season.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Glenn. Always a pleasure. And if you have another word for backside,
secret word game that we need to work in,
derriere,
I'm going to spend some time working on this week now.
rump,
Don't threaten
whatever.
Don't. It's just a shame you've never worked a game with former tight end Jake Boutte. Just a real shame.
Exactly. Well, we might have to bring him in, third man in the booth.